More than 1 million Floridians have been ordered to leave their homes as Hurricane Milton approaches the Gulf Coast. People leaving may find traffic jams, gas stations running low, and high airfares for those looking to fly out of Milton's path. Pete Buttigieg is the U.S. Secretary of Transportation. What role is the United States Department of Transportation playing in Florida in regards to helping people evacuate from the path of Hurricane Milton?
We've been able to provide the clearance to use the shoulder lanes on I-4 and I-75, increases the ability of those interstates to have the throughput to help people get to where they need to be. If you're under an evacuation order, get away from the coastline. You may not have that far to go to get to a safe area, but get out from an unsafe area. And we want to do everything we can to help with that.
Florida ports have been closed by the United States Coast Guard. Gasoline and jet fuel for many areas, including some of those that will likely suffer a direct hit from this hurricane, come through Florida ports, especially in Tampa Bay and in Fort Lauderdale. What do you know about the gasoline supply in Florida?
Safety is the top priority, but as soon as those ports are capable of receiving shipments again, we'll want to see those come online. And sometimes we can also work with pipeline operators with regulatory relief to help make sure any pipelines that have been impacted can get back up and running as quickly as possible.
I know the Florida Highway Patrol has been accompanying some fuel trucks as they move over land into Florida to help keep gasoline supplies plentiful. Is there a role for the United States Department of Transportation regarding permitting or regulations to assist in that should some of these fuel ports be closed for longer than anticipated?
One thing we've been able to do is to provide regulatory relief on service deliveries. Some trucking, for example, can get flexibility on the number of hours they are permitted to be in service. Another thing that can happen is load limits on roads. In an emergency, we don't want that to be an obstacle to goods getting to where they need to be.
Most folks who are evacuating are doing so by vehicle, but plenty are also looking to leave by plane. You posted a social media message Monday night, Mr. Secretary, saying we're keeping a close eye on flights in and out of areas affected by Hurricane Milton to make sure airlines are not charging excessively increasing fares. How are you doing that?
We're monitoring fares and have engaged with the airlines through our Office of the General Counsel to make sure they are on notice about their responsibilities here. I should be clear, some of the affected airports are already closed. Tampa, for example.
Yep. And I believe the Orlando airport is scheduled to close on Wednesday. When you talk about watching for charging excessively increasing fares, is there a definition of what constitutes an excessive increase?
I think it is one of those things, though, that you know when you see it. And when we see it, we're going to be talking to these airlines about their responsibilities.
Regarding the airports, the Tampa and St. Pete airports border the waters of Tampa Bay. You can see the water from the runways. Storm surge predictions are as high as 15 feet, Mr. Secretary. That will inundate runways, access roads at these airports, and some buildings. What should people expect for these airports to be operational again, even if only for rescue and recovery purposes in the hours and days following the storm?
That is what we are likely to see at least some airports, that when they do get back up and running, at first, that'll only mean up and running for supporting emergency operations, then eventually be able to get back to normal for commercial operations. FAA has been pre-positioning some of their teams. They have communication reporting structures like their Joint Crisis Action Team, an air traffic field incident response team that they're going to have already on the ground, help provide support if a tower, for example, is damaged and becomes unavailable, anything like that.
For airports such as these, which are so important for recovery and rescue efforts, and in a general sunny day are such economic drivers for these areas, ought there be some mandated flood protection measures that they have in place for instances that they're experiencing or likely will experience with Milton?
We've got to prepare our infrastructure to be more resilient for the future. We can't just replace and maintain everything the exact way it's always been and expect it to be ready for what's coming. And there are certainly a lot of issues around our airports, making sure that they are resilient for the future too. I think for the long run, that'll be a combination of policy and funding. And we're going to continue working on that for the long term, even as we're working in the immediate term, just to make sure these airport authorities get the support they need to get through the week.
United States Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. Mr. Secretary, thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
And I'm Tom Hudson. This is WLRN News.